Hi, welcome back. This is part 2 of the installment for quick question number 13. And I was talking about the quick question is it okay, not is it okay, but is it biblical, is it scriptural, is it something that early church leaders would have done when we know that people are selling books, DVDs, CDs, or they are selling people, tickets to get access into conferences, workshops, and forums and concerts. Is it okay? Is it bad? Is it good? Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it scriptural? Is it biblical? Is it something I can see the early church leaders doing? So if you so in the first part of this quick question 13, the first part, I said, sometimes you can't ask is it scriptural or is it biblical, because the truth is that they didn't have the technology we have nowadays. Paul didn't have a printing press. Peter didn't have a CD or DVD, recorder. He can make DVDs and stuff. So we can't totally compare to them. But I like to at least say, even if I can't say it's biblical or scriptural, is it something I can picture the early church leaders doing? Can I sincerely say that I can see Apostle Paul, disciple Peter, Jesus Christ, can I see them doing the things that we do nowadays? If Jesus, let's just say for example, Jesus wrote a book. Let's suppose Jesus wrote a book. And let's just say it's called How You Can Get to Know Me in 30 Days or Less. Suppose Jesus wrote a book called How to Get to Know Me in 30 Days or Less, written by Jesus Christ. If he did write a book and he could mass produce it, like we can nowadays in our time period, would he sell it? Ask yourself that. Would Jesus sell you a book? And if he did, how much would it be for? Would he sell it to you for a dime so he could give the donations to charity? Would he, ask yourself, would he sell it to you for $15? Some books, I've seen books cost from about, usually about $13 to about $25. And most of the Christian books I've seen and bought, they usually cost from like $12 to $25. If Apostle Paul was, to record himself like I'm doing on YouTube, a lot of YouTubers, we have a lot of YouTube people that, record, about spiritual matters. If Peter was recording himself on DVDs, would he sell his DVDs or would he give them away for free? If he did charge, how much would he charge? Would the proceeds go to charity? Would they go to the poor? Would they go to the church? Would they go to further the ministry? Or would they go to personal things? Would they go so that he could buy a new suit or a Rolls Royce or a bigger home? So ask yourself that, like I said, we can't say it's biblical or scriptural because they didn't have the same technology advances that we have nowadays. But we can ask ourselves, would Jesus do this? So I just asked you about, if they sold DVDs or CDs or books, whatever. But now let's go to services, things that are not tangible. And I think we already know for sure that this would not happen in the Bible. The topic of, I'm going to look it up real quick on BibleGateway.com. But what comes to mind automatically is when the people were following Jesus around. It was thousands of people. And they were following him around, and it was so many of them that they said he had to get in the boat and kind of push himself off from the shore a little bit so that they could all hear him teach. And I believe it was, if I'm not incorrect, it was 5,000 people. I think this is the same time he fed those 5,000 people. The fish and the loaves. I believe it's the same. It was the same instance I'm talking about. And 5,000 people were desperate to hear. They were desperate to hear from the Lord. They were desperate to hear, a word from the Lord. And the truth is that, Jesus didn't say, well, hold up now, y'all wait behind this door, and I'm going to have Apostle, I'm going to have disciple Peter get your names, and he's going to have you all register. And you are going to register, and what we're going to do is we're going to give you a name tag and a wristband to prove that you paid. And then we're going to let you come in and get seated and then I'm going to proceed to tell you the gospel. I'm going to proceed to tell you the mysteries of the kingdom. That's not, that's not what happened. It's not what happened. Jesus they followed him. He just taught them. They followed him around, and he would just stop, and he would tell them something, teach them something new. Some of them could receive it, some of them could not receive it. But he would teach for free. It was always free. From what I remember in the Bible, it was always free. So, is it okay that we charge? How much should we charge? I guess back then it was different because people didn't even want to hear the gospel. They didn't want to hear it. People didn't really want, back when Paul was in the book of Acts and Peter was in the book of Acts, people didn't necessarily want to hear. They didn't necessarily want to hear all that. They kind of just want to be left alone. So you couldn't charge them for no gospel because they didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to receive Jesus in the first place. Some of them didn't. So you were going to find, I guess how we have nowadays, people are just so thirsty and, hungry for these books and these DVDs on how to get prosperous, how to get wealthy, how to get married God's way, all these type of books. People back then, when they were bringing a gospel message that was not very attractive, people didn't necessarily want to hear it. So maybe back then it wouldn't have been quite the same. But we know for sure that, Jesus, he took care of his people. Now I might have had the wrong passage. There was some passage in the Bible where a lot of people followed him. Oh yeah, here. This is John 6. This is John 6. Let's start at verse 1. After these things, Jesus went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great multitude followed him, because they saw his miracles, and which he did on them that were diseased. So it's like, he fed them as well. He didn't just, just let them, he didn't charge them to hear anything. He didn't tell them, feed me. He took what they had and he gave more to them, and they had stuff left over. So should our pastor, should our preacher, should our evangelist, should our workshop leader, should our conference people, should they be charging us? Should they be telling us, I won't tell you nothing, I won't tell you what God revealed to me unless you pay me? Me for example, I'm just a regular girl who just likes to record videos. I wouldn't dare charge for a YouTube video. If I got that good, if I could charge people, I still wouldn't. Because I'm like, it's not mine to sell. I can't sell what's not mine. It's not mine to sell you. People who are gospel artists, who are singing, I'm like, can you really sell your singing? Can you really sell me something that's not me? Yes, your voice, but and I guess you put your time into it. But can you really sell me a $50 ticket to go to a concert when it's really not your voice to give away? You cannot, I guess, it's like saying, can you really pimp, your gifts, your talents? It's not really yours to sell because it was God who gave it to you. So if Jesus himself would not charge me to hear him sing, then is it okay? Is it okay for you, to charge me? It's okay for you to charge me to hear you sing. Like I said, I know it costs money to be in a recording. It costs, it costs money to be in a recording studio and to produce a CD and all this, advertisement. You gotta get the CD case, the CD cover. You gotta mass produce it. You gotta distribute it. You gotta advertise it. So I know it's not gonna be free for a gospel artist to produce a CD, but I'm talking about a concert where you just have to go into a building, stand on this stage for 20 minutes and sing what God put on your heart. Can you charge me for that? Can you charge me for a gospel message? That's a quick question number 13. I want to go into it a little deeper. I was trying to find that passage about when Jesus, they just came to him and he was in a boat. He pushed off from the shore and he just taught them from the boat. There was so many of them, and he couldn't be with them because they were all over him. So he had to push himself. He had to go into a boat and push off from the shore and teach them. And I was like, Missy, Jesus, he would never charge you for a message. He would never charge you a book saying how to get to know me in 30 days or less for $15. He would never charge because the gospel is free. He wouldn't, just like Paul said in 1 Corinthians 9, he would never charge, So, quick question 13, is it okay for people to charge you for books or conferences for the gospel?